It's 5 p.m. And in accordance with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, we are conducting this meeting online. To ensure public access to the discussions of the Boston Human Rights Commission, the public may access this call through telephone and video conferencing. Members of the public will have an opportunity to provide comments at the end. This meeting is being recorded. Okay, so the first agenda item is the approval of the minutes of May 19th meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes of May 19th? Is there a motion?
No, but
Go ahead.
when you Susan, when you record the vote, if you could just record my abstention. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Are there any, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, minutes are accepted. All right, we're going to move to the executive director's report. Evandro, why don't we start with you today? This is our annual meeting. And we're going to, Evandro sent out a summary of the activities of the year. And I hope people had a chance to read it. And if people have questions, but I'd like to ask you, Evandro, if you would sort of talk about some of those things and highlight some of those things. And also anybody who has questions, this would be a great time to bring them up. And so why don't you go right ahead?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, everyone. I'm Evandro Carvalho. I am the Executive Director of the Boston Human Rights Commission. As always, I would like to first thank all of you for being, certainly the commissioners for taking this time, this summer day with 90 degrees weather out there. And those of you in the audience, welcome to our public meeting. As Madam Chair McKenna said, this is a year ago today, June 30th, 2020, in the middle of COVID, we held our very first public meeting. And unfortunately, as you know, during COVID-19, all the meetings have been in this space via Zoom. So I appreciate all of you that take the time to be present with us. And I will start by saying, obviously, since the first meeting, we've had 8 total meetings, public meetings, and 2 public hearings. I will try to keep my remarks short. I did, Madam Chair, as you indicated, sent out a, sort of actually too long for my liking, about 10-page, 7-page perhaps, of report that indicated in terms of where we are and some of the things we've been able to accomplish. And so hopefully some of the things that we can do going into fiscal year 2022. Having said that, one of the first things that we did, I believe, actually June 30th, 2020, was, agree on 7 key priorities that the commission will work on. And I'll try to take a brief moment on each to sort of kind of just give a brief update. Then I'll give a brief update in terms of some of the administrative and operational, sort of summary of what's going on within the commission. And again, looking forward to 2022. One of the key priorities that we focused on, as the commissioners know, and members of the public that attended the meetings know this as well, is that we've chosen to, for good reason, to focus on a digital divide, which essentially, meant that we had several meetings in the space. We talked to stakeholders. In fact, we had one of the last meetings involved having the providers with us, that is Verizon, as well as Comcast and Starry, to talk about the issue. We also had hearing where we heard from members of the public. One of the key things that we did in this space that I think have been very helpful is essentially have someone with us from UMass Boston, Thalia, who's our intern, and she's a PhD student at UMass. She's helped greatly with doing the research and kind of framing the issue for us. She's going to continue on with us for the next several months as an intern as we look to conduct perhaps a study to determine the level of broadband service throughout the city of Boston to see if there's any disparities that exist within the different neighborhoods. And hopefully, again, as we said in the past, the goal in this space is to produce a report with some recommendations that help us throughout the city to close this gap. Second, the marginalization of Black men was another issue that we focused on. We had very early on in January, we had a webinar, a panel discussion, again in Zoom, where 50 people attended. Went very well. Our plan on this space is to keep figuring out ways to explore the issue, particularly to talk about healing of Black men in the city of Boston and in America. We're hoping to build some partnerships around this way, including folks in organizations such as the My Brother's Keepers, which is inside City Hall, Becoming a Man, Concerned Black Men in Massachusetts. And most recently, actually, Commissioner Lee and I just this afternoon attended a press conference that was held in City Hall by the Black Men Committee, which were essentially the leaders of Boston, including Tito Jackson. Black men held the press conference with Mayor Kim Janey to talk about this issue. So there should be other things that we can do, particularly in the fall, perhaps have a wider discussion on the topic by view of a conference or some sort of platform. Thirdly, the issue of Boston Police Task Force recommendations. Again, this is a space that we've been active on. This is regarding, for those that don't know, Mayor Walsh in 2020, in light of George Floyd, like so many other cities throughout the country, decided to put together a task force that created and made some recommendations towards the end of 2020 that essentially, among other things, recommended that we create an Office of Police Accountability Transparency in the city of Boston, as well as Civilian Review Board. In January, in this space, we sent a letter to then Commissioner Gross, who was the Boston Police Department commissioner. Obviously, we know the history in terms of what's happened with Boston Police Department since, but we're staying put to see what else we can do. Most recently, in May, Mayor Kim Janey appointed Attorney Stephanie Everett as the executive director of the office, OPAT office, which again is the Office of Police Accountability and Transparency. I'm thinking one of the next steps we should do in the next month or so is to have a meeting with Attorney Everett to figure out how we can work together in this space and what's going on and what else we can do to support the efforts in this space. The other task force that Mayor Walsh created last year, because of COVID-19 in particular, is the COVID-19 Health Inequities Task Force, which obviously focus on health issues, health inequities within the city of Boston, particularly because COVID-19, overwhelmingly impacted Black and Brown people in terms of the numbers of share, positivity and numbers of death in the city of Boston. That task force I personally have set on the meetings throughout the year. And they are finally actually next month going to release their Health Inequities Now plan. July, I think right after July 4th, this report should be coming out. And obviously the next step on that end is to review, which we'll share the report with you all. We'll review it and figure out if there's an angle for us to help move this issue forward. A couple more things as I close in this space, at least, is obviously one of the key things that the mayor wanted to focus on. Hopefully you can't hear my little girl screaming for me downstairs. She just arrived here with my wife, so I apologize if you can hear her. But essentially in the space of immigrant rights, we met certainly with Yusuf Valley, who is the mayor's advancement director, to try to find ways to do some work in this space. I will say that finally, towards the spring of this year, we were able to do some substantial amount of work in this space, particularly as it relates to our Asian American and Pacific Islander citizens in the city of Boston. We know because of COVID-19, some of the rhetoric around Asian Americans, AAPI, as we say, they were blamed for the virus. So there've been increase of incidents of hate throughout the country, and certainly in the city of Boston. So in that space, we put together a working session with other city departments and community leaders in the city of Boston of Asian descent to figure out what else can the city do to better the situation. And one of the things that we were able to create is what we call a anonymous incident report that's actually on our website now, in which individuals can come in and report incidents of hate. The good news about this, to some extent, it served as a pilot in this space with the AAPI community, but I think it's a form that we can use for any resident in the city of Boston to report any issues of hate that they see, particularly for those that do not want to go to the police. I think that's, obviously this is great work. I detailed it on the report and some of the things we were able to do, get the employees together to create an affinity or resource group amongst Asian Americans in the city hall. So great work in that space. Finally, actually not finally, second to the final, the housing discrimination is another issue that we wanted to focus on. And in that space, around this time last year, actually, we saw the report that I think it was Suffolk University in general, actually, that led this effort. Their study indicated that Black people renters in the city of Boston, as well as voucher holders, were disproportionately discriminated against in the city of Boston in terms of availability of housing. So in that space, we've been working with the Mayor's Office of Fair Housing and Equity. They've essentially redone the study and to make sure that we can use some of the information that they have to essentially see if we can even push some of the perpetrators to do better in many different ways. So I spoke recently with Director Will Onoha, who's the director of the Mayor's Office of Fair Housing. He said that their testing, as he calls it, should be wrapping up in the fall, and by October, we'll have a report and some details about what they found and who are the key players in this discrimination space. And let me just double check, make sure. And so the last portion of the issue, again, of the issues that we want to focus on is the protection of LGBTQ plus residents, particularly the transgender community in the city of Boston. Again, in this space, also had to do with uptick of violence against transgender community in the city and throughout the country. We recently formed, and I say recently formed, but really the commission led a cross-department working session. We're leading that now, actually. Involves, for instance, Chief of Equity, Selena Barrios Milner, involve the LGBTQ liaisons at BPD, Boston Police Department, and other Women's Advancement is another one that's in the space. We're gonna hopefully hold very soon, at the end of July, perhaps, a listening session with transgender community as well as the LGBTQ community at large to figure out how the city can better serve this community. Now I'll switch gear briefly, Madam Chair, in the space of administrative and operational tasks that are at hand. Obviously, we know I've discussed.
Evandro, let me interrupt you
Sure, go ahead.
Before you go there, so people won't forget all of what.
Yeah, happy to take any questions. Thank you.
So why don't we stop there before we go to operations and see if people have questions or comments about any of the things or any of the topics. I have a few, but I want to see if any of the commissioners have comments or questions. Yeah, Ben.
I just wanted to say thank you for putting together the report. I thought it was it's very well organized and very readable and really covered everything.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any more questions? I'm looking at the report too that I sent out. Obviously, again, it's more than I usually like to write, but I thought it was important to.
Yeah, I think it was very helpful to give
Okay.
people a broad view. And before we go on to operations, let me just
Sure.
comment on a few things. You covered pretty much everything. And let me just follow up on the broadband access for a minute. I think the next steps there, we're going to continue to work with the UMass folks and Talia. And one of the things I think we probably need to do is, I mean, there are two things. One you mentioned, which is we're looking for the expertise that we don't have and we're trying to find is how do we measure speed of internet or broadband in Dorchester or Roxbury versus Beacon Hill, the Back Bay. And we're seeking to find that. The other is, I think a question we should think about is, are there things or information we want from the providers? Follow up to our hearings in May. So that's with Talia and Reyes, Commissioner Reyes, it's probably something we should talk about, is what are the other things that we would like answered.
Yes.
We did not get answered at the meeting in May. And I will just say about that is also the follow up on the police task force. Evandro was clear about where it came from and our interest in it. And we did send a letter, if people remember, the commissioners remember, we did send a letter to the commissioner and then the next commissioner, acting commissioner, to ask the status of the recommendations that came out of the task force report. So we've kind of been on hold, waiting for a police commissioner. We now look like we're going to have an acting one for a while, but it's a subject that we are very interested in, and I think, you know, the recommendations were to the department, not to an individual. And I think we definitely are interested in following up to see if any of those recommendations have been implemented. And just so you know, I am talking to the folks at the Kennedy School about both of these issues in terms of getting student support in terms of the police task force report. So, so people know. And so those are the two things I wanted to mention in terms of next steps. And also the incident report, I think whatever we can do through Evandro and Susan, the other folks in City Hall, is to let people know about our incident report on the website, that it's open to anybody, including the LGBTQ community and transgender community. What we'd like to be able to do is what we talked about first as a commission, is to get some sense in the city of anything that it's not, maybe you don't want to report it to the police, or maybe it's not something that the police would be interested in. Maybe it's something that you saw but didn't happen to you, or something that did happen to you, but some sense of what is going on in the city in terms of harassment of any kind. And we'd like to be able to collect that. And so we'd like to, I think, ask our colleagues in City Hall to help us with that and spread the word that people can do it anonymously or not, to help us get an understanding. Because, typically we say, anecdotally we hear, but at least if we have it on the website in terms of time and date and place, it's much more valuable than, somebody saying, I heard somebody, it said something to somebody. So I think we ought to encourage people to use it so that we can have it to give a sense that this is a problem in many ways.
Madam Chair, I would agree with you. I would agree with you 150%. I've been talking to a number of neighborhood councils and a number of neighborhood groups, and people are being harassed. Transgender, African Americans, and others have been harassed, and they've been talking about it. So that's a good point. I just wanted to underline what you were saying.
So we ask you too, all of you are out in the community, Leonard, you are in particular, is to tell people to come to the website and report it, because it makes us much stronger as we're reporting to the city council and others. Okay, thanks.
I will say in that space, Madam Chair, since we put obviously you know this, that's one of the things I wanted to cover um, in the administrative side of things. The website has been revamped, right, with new information. All of your bios on there, pictures, and as well as the intake form and this incident report. And we have gotten to some extent an uptick, if you will, of reports to us. In fact, just today, I got an inquiry from the website. So we've had a total of perhaps 7 to 10 inquiries over the last, at least since the website has been put up. And it's a good sign. So we have been trying to get it, to let folks know that it exists. So in fact, we've had some complaints about housing discrimination, employment discrimination, race and sexual orientation. Susan and I both, the process right now is that Susan and I meet with these folks and determine, the best way to help them. And it's been, sending them to MCAD, sending them to the BBA, the Boston Bar Association's lawyer referral system. So we've been helping folks, particularly since the website has been up. So we'll put that in the chat as well. Now, if folks are interested in helping us with the website and sharing it. But I think one of the things that's going to be critical going forward, that's going to really help us do the outreach with the website and other things, is the next position that we're going to hire. As you know, Madam Chair, I believe a couple of the Leonard Lee, I think, and actually Ray has been helping in this space with education outreach manager position, which we got almost 100 resumes online through the city's website, and we've been able to narrow it with your help to 10 people to interview. And so we're going to kick off the interviews starting next week. Hopefully, those of you that are able to help can help us with the interviews. The other position that's also in the pipeline, we recently just took it off the website. We got about 80 people interested in this position. It's the investigator position. And so that, we're going to also follow up to narrow it and then do interviews on that. The position of director of research and analysis, that's also pretty much ready to be on the website for us to move on with. And finally, the program manager position is the one that's sort of on cue as fourth position. So we have 4 positions that finally, I know we've discussed this over the months in a space where it's just a matter of posting and hiring. So it's not all the city hall processes have exhausted itself. Thank God. I'll mention briefly about the budget process. I sent a detailed report about a budget proposal, but essentially our budget tomorrow, I think, actually, tomorrow, Wednesday, the city council will vote on the budget, right, for FY22 and 2022, excuse me. And, our budget is pretty much a maintenance budget in addition, except that we received, at least in the proposal from City Hall, as in the mayor's proposal, there was a addition of $100,000 that came in, to be honest, last couple of months in the space of perhaps trying to do more anti-discrimination and anti-hate work. So that's the additional, again, $100,000 that, we could use. Perhaps one of the things that I've suggested, at least in budget, and I'm happy to hear your thoughts on this, is to perhaps use it in the AAPI space that I just mentioned, perhaps do a video of in support of Asian Americans in the city of Boston. The other space that we could use the funding for is in the Black men's, event. If we do one, particularly one that involves paying people to come and speak, if we do a big event as we had talked about. And finally, even in the space of LGBTQ plus protections for residents in the city of Boston, that's also a space we can use to fund it. So again, these are just ideas, but happy to hear from you all about what we can do with this additional income, additional allocation. But to be honest, until tomorrow, until the budget passes, it's not formal. It's not, final that we get in this funding. So just to kind of put it in perspective. Finally, a couple more things to mention. In the report, I mentioned that our office space is finally coming together. As you all know, Susan, since we hired her in May, has been remote and doesn't have an office in City Hall. Our suite 17, some of the folks that were there before had to be moved out. They're doing some office reconfiguration. Excuse me. It looks like we're going to be sharing the office with the team over Equity and Inclusion Cabinet team. Selena Barrios and her team, as well as some of the other departments that are under this cabinet. The last thing I wanted to bring up, and hopefully we can have a discussion about it. I think we got some pretty cool logo options that our good friends in IT drafted for us. Hopefully we can narrow it down and pick one. And finally, the mission statement, which it's the purpose. It's what do we intend to do with this department long term. We've drafted this big. I know some of you gave me some input in the past, but I'm hoping that we use this space today to discuss some of that and sort of, particularly the mission statement, vote on something, logo options. Let's pick them so we can, as we go into FY 2022, we have, things get cemented. I think we've done amazing work. We provided the foundation for this department to do amazing work going into the future. So I'm proud of the work that we accomplished, particularly in COVID-19 space, but obviously so much more to do. But thank you for the opportunity, obviously, and I've gone way longer than I usually want to, but I want, since this is the first annual meeting, to kind of give you all a perspective where we are and hopefully where we can go in the future. That's all I had, Madam Chair. Happy to take any further questions, any thoughts and comments as well. Again, thank you, all of you, particularly all you commissioners that have come in, every month and stick with us in this COVID-19 space, and the members of the public that continue to show up and support the work that we're doing.
Chairwoman, you're on mute. And I think Commissioner Colta Lachea has her hand up.
Sure. Who had their hand up?
Commissioner Reyes? Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah, she does. Commissioner Reyes. Hello.
She might have stepped away for a second.
She
Oh.
she might be frozen too. So
Yeah.
Okay.
She lives in Dorchester. No, what that is.
She lives in Dorchester, right? While we're waiting for her, does anybody else have any other questions about operations? That's what I wanted to cover first. We'll come back to you with suggestions about the budget and any changes in the budget later on, not today. I think what we do want to do is look at the logos and the mission statement. I'll bet a lot of you are organizations that have a mission statement, but I bet a lot of you couldn't tell me what they are, or if you can tell me what they are, how closely they are to what you do, I don't know. But I think we need one. So we have one basically on the web now, but it's not official. So yes, Commissioner Reyes, did you have something you wanted to say? Are you on mute? You're on mute.
Oh,
Go ahead.
okay. No, I did not. I was reading the different versions, and I think it's getting better and better and better.
Good.
So
All right.
nothing in
So-
particular for today.
All right. So are there comments on the mission statement? You want to put the mission statement up?
Can you see, am I sharing, by the way? Can you see my?
You
my
are.
screen?
You are.
Oh, you can see the logos. What can you see?
I can
You-
see it says budget and mission statement, but I can't
Oh.
see the mission statement.
Okay, so so the screen then, I'm upgrading myself, but yet I'm still. So this is the screen you can see then.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so I have double screen now, so I'm upgraded.
We're looking at the logo
This
of
is the logo, right?
Boston Human Rights Commission, and so let's talk about that for a minute. Why don't
So
you?
this is, Madam Chair, this is number 1.
Yeah.
Number 2.
Number 2,
number 3.
wait, go back to 2 for a minute. 2 has,
2 is, there's 3 of them in together too. 3, there's 3 options in there.
yeah,
And
Okay.
I think I detailed this in the report, but in this number 2, part of it is to say that, obviously there's a lot of issues, and Susan, correct me if I'm wrong, but that we're going to focus on, few issues. And that's why you see the red dots, right? The red pops to say that we're going to sort of I think to an extent, what we've been doing now is looking at systematic issues. I think this is sort of supposed to capture that idea.
And the third one,
The third one is got the dove, right? And to be honest, I don't remember the
this is
the
the,
message behind this one.
isn't this the traditional human rights?
Yes,
Correct.
this is the
The
traditional.
human rights logo that
Yes,
people use for human rights, isn't that,
Yep.
is that correct?
correct.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm a big fan, if I can skew, this is the one I like the best. But again, any number of them could work. And if this doesn't do for you, let us know too. We can go back to the drawing board, but I certainly like the options we have.
So number one made me go to my closet and find this sweater. My previous life when I worked at Lucent Technologies, because it's somewhat reminiscent of the Lucent logo,
Yeah.
which was affectionately referred to as the coffee cup stain.
Yeah,
By those of us who worked there.
Okay. So does that mean it's a no? Yes.
No, I'm not saying it's a no, but it is really, that company's gone, but that's what
Okay.
it called out to me.
All right, so
It was
it's a
very
no.
important.
I think they all look dated. I think they don't. I don't know. They look dated.
Okay.
yeah.
That's what I was gonna say, especially the last one seems extremely.
Yeah, it's just. I'm thinking, is it
It doesn't
possible?
have people in it.
Yeah, is it possible to talk to a graphic artist? Maybe we can get them to donate their services and give us a couple of renditions of something a little more, not necessarily contemporary, but maybe a little more forward.
You know, I heard what Ann Russo said, which is interesting, is what about having it people? And it doesn't even have to be people's
Sure.
faces. Doesn't even have to be people's faces, but it could be, sort of stick figures of people in different colors. Because
Mhm.
humans is what we deal with, right? Not birds. And, and not dots, but people.
Okay.
And even if we had outlines of things that look like people, different sizes and different colors, and
Yeah,
I
so
think that's
like
a
the
good idea, but
shadows
they
or
don't shadows. They don't have to be real people or
okay.
real pictures of people, but something that symbolizes humans.
Yeah,
What about that?
Okay.
yeah, I like
All
that.
right. We'll go back to the drawing board, and Commissioner Lee, if certainly if there's anyone that that's creative, we got City Hall to work with right now. So if there's anyone that you
Will
could
do.
be helpful, let me know.
Will do.
One of the things we might do is there are a couple of arts programs that are around. We might think about even going to them and having a competition with. There's a summer arts program for high schools, I know, run by the place in Dorchester. What's the name of it? Anyway, let's think about. We might think
Okay.
about involving.
And obviously, City Hall has a arts department, too, arts commission that they do these sort of things all the time in terms of contests and getting
Right,
artists involved.
right. All right, let's talk about it. Maybe
All
we
right, so
can
let's
involve the
let
community
me
more.
go into the mission statement and then
Okay.
in terms of
All right.
this is the original mission statement up top here.
Yeah,
Let me present so you can see it better. This is the original one that from the 80s essentially. This is the one that we drafted
a year ago.
a couple drafts, if you will. One in June of 2020 and the other in July. This is the latest, and then there is the statement, Margaret, that we have on the website currently. That I'm not sure if you're thinking that a potential mission statement as well, but in terms of the mission statement, the one that's the latest is this one here. In the process of coming up with these, we looked at. I remember we looked at. I'm sorry, I went too high. I don't know what I just did here.
Is the third one the one on the website?
No, the one on the website, let me pull that one. Bear with me as you see my Susan. Perhaps you can help me find it here.
It's on the first slide. the
First slide, thank you.
first slide.
Yeah, so link reviews, which one?
You had it earlier. It was, okay, so it's, if you click on the
Number
HMC mission
5.
statement, yeah, if you click
Yes.
there where you had it. So the
Thank
first
you.
slide is the mission statement, and then the second one is what's on the website, which is just like an introductory statement.
Oh, I see, thank you, thank you. Obviously, Susan, yeah, Susan helped me to finding everything, so thank you, Susan, again, for all you do. So this is the statement from the website, thank you.
So I like the third draft or the second draft, and I am not too keen on this one, that appears on the website.
Yeah, this one.
Mainly
was-
because it's just it's kind of it portrays us as a referring agency, whether the other the second draft is very good with the verbs to promote, to enforce, to create.
Right, yeah. I thought, yeah, this one, right?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
one-
like that too. That's good.
Yeah.
Good.
yeah,
That's a good summary, right? I think
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
it's a little more detailed and sort of like process, where this sort of says mission, right? This is what
Yeah.
we think we can do.
yeah.
But any further thoughts? Thank you, Chair. Excuse me,
Yeah.
Reyes.
Yeah, the third one is closer. The second one I don't like because it says welcoming city, which always to me means we welcome you.
Mhm.
There's a us and them in it. You know,
Right.
I always have problems with the welcoming piece. But I think the third one does encompass who we
Okay.
are.
I like the third one also. I just wish it was a little shorter because mission statements tend to be shorter so that you can remember them. But I do like it. It touches everything that I would think about with the human rights. Commission.
And for me, the strongest part is we aim to enforce. And that's important to me.
Okay,
Yes, I agree. I think that that's been stated very, very well. Yes.
So, and we could also, I like this mission statement a lot. And
Yeah.
we could also have sort of the elevator speech, a much shorter version of that for when we meet someone, if we have to talk about it instead of trying to commit this all to memory.
Good
Correct.
point. Good point.
okay.
The judge's point, though, should we drop the last sentence? Because it's the,
We accomplish our mission by exposing.
yeah, I mean, I kind of like that sentence, but it doesn't have the punchiness of the second sentence.
And maybe the first sentence should be, rather than promote, should be enforce. I don't know. Maybe we should talk about our strength first. I don't
I
know.
really like enforce.
Yeah.
Yes.
So but we have enforced in the second sentence. We want to enforce
No,
twice.
I meant, should we put that first?
I
So
see.
Wouldn't put we aim to, I don't know.
And we can drop that last part. I agree with you. We act as a,
So this
If we-
portion right here is what you're talking about, Judge?
Yeah,
So
I mean,
drop
we
this.
can have that someplace else, but I think the mission statement is the first two lines.
yeah,
Okay,
So it could be our mission is to enforce human rights, to engage,
yeah.
oh, I see, okay.
It might even be just that middle sentence.
Our mission is to enforce human rights, to engage, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I can live with that easy.
Yeah,
That's nice. Yeah, me too.
yeah, I think I could live with that, right?
okay, there it is. I think that works.
without the aim, without the aim.
Aim, take out the
Yep.
aim, right? Our mission is to enforce.
Beautiful.
And then you drop this.
Yep.
You have this.
No, I wouldn't drop the second sentence, would you?
I thought somebody said that.
Yeah, I think that we,
Drop the last sentence.
this one line, and then we can add these other things someplace else you know, and how we do things or something like that. But this is our mission.
Okay.
I like the second sentence.
I do too.
We act.
Right. I mean,
I'm not
we-
against it. I just want to keep it simple.
All right.
the-
Let's,
let's see.
I like that too. Let's keep
All right,
it.
let me say it out loud and see if there's a ring to it,
It's
okay?
still short.
Our mission is to enforce human rights, to engage in relationships and partnerships that embody the principles of dignity and respect, and to create a culture of human rights compliance and accountability. We act as a driver for social change based on principles of substantive equality, equity, inclusion for all. Yeah, I like that second sentence.
I do
It,
too.
it ties it. Otherwise, without it, it sort of, it leaves,
Leaves us hanging.
leaves
us hanging.
Yeah,
yeah, it leaves us hanging.
yeah.
All right, so it
Okay.
looks like we got a consensus. Do we want to vote, Madam Chair?
Well, we just created a mission statement. I don't know whether the commissioners are ready to vote on something that we just created by committee, but why don't we, here's what I would say. Why don't we ask people if they want to move forward with this, and then we'll bring it back to you at the next meeting for a formal vote. We'll
Okay.
send it out to you in the minutes, and next time we'll bring it back for a formal vote. Can I get a consensus that that's okay with the commissioners?
Yeah.
Works for me.
Okay,
All right,
great. Thanks for your help here.
all right, so I'll stop sharing now, if I can figure it out.
Stop sharing.
Shouldn't you be proud of me? I've shared something right here.
Sharing, good, it's good, it's good, it's good.
Let me figure out how to share now. I'm sorry. I'll stop sharing. Here it is. Thank you.
All right, okay. All right, in the meantime, I lost the agenda somehow. Okay, so the next thing on the agenda, was there any other questions for anything we presented from Yvonne?
I have a question about the website, whether we think that we would like to upload the reports done by Priska and Talia into the website.
I think that's a great idea. I do. Does anybody think there's a problem with that? I don't know.
I mean, it may need some sort of, I don't know if the city has some sort of standard thing about hosting content authored by other people, but I think that, I mean, it's good. Why not give it a platform?
Yeah, and go ahead, I'm sorry.
Commissioner Ben. Yeah, so they authored it, but it's sort of, the work product is of the commission, right? They are intern. But I certainly can look into perhaps any sort of steps that need to be taken in that space before we post it, but it shouldn't be a problem.
But I would say these are reports that were done by consultants to the commission. They have not been, while they have not been voted on, by the commission, they do generally reflect, I mean, something like that. I think because they have not been word for word accepted by us and voted on, I think we don't want people to think that everything that's in them is our thing that
Endorsed.
we have accepted, right? So I think there needs to be, I think they should get exposed because I think they're very good, but I think there ought to be some statement. There's a lot of lawyers hanging around here and judges that we ought to have a statement that shows that these are not written by the commission, nor have they been
Adopted by-
formally approved by the commission, but they've been used as a basis for our discussions,
Okay.
Yeah, right? So we need
Yes.
things like that.
I think in both cases, but in at least one case, some of the other human rights commissions in the United States are very interesting interested in accessing Prisca's report, for
Yeah.
instance. And rather than have it done individually and personally, it would be probably better that they come to our website and access it through the commission's website.
And that's good for us.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
what I mean.
Yeah, I agree. So is that okay with everybody with some language that says these are results of our, okay, all right. So why don't we do that? I think that's a great suggestion. It also brings attention to the work we're doing, done by these two researchers, which is great. I think the next thing on our agenda is, in fact, a report on the work of other human rights commissions around the country. And Commissioner Reyes, you want to talk a little bit about where this come from and introduce?
Well, very briefly, I will introduce Prisca Tarimo, who is working on a PhD in human rights at UMass Boston. And she was charged with researching what the other human rights commissions within the United States do, what they have been doing, those that are very active, where they had successes, how they achieved those successes, and the challenges that they have found. In doing so, Prisca contacted personally and interviewed many commissioners like us across the United States and asked on our behalf many pertinent questions and gathered an enormous amount of information that it is an amazing amount of information that she has very nicely put together in a way that we as individual or as a group could go into this document, or people from outside our commission could go into the document and see what's going on in the United States right now with human rights commissions, with the active ones, what they're fighting for, where they are finding successes, and where there is possibly common ground. So Prisca has worked many more hours than we could pay for, but in doing so, she has become an expert, and I think she's going to be able to publish books about this in the years to come. Prisca.
You're on mute, Prisca.
Hey, everyone. Thank you so much. Can you hear me right now?
Yes.
Yes, I appreciate your compliments, Professor Reyes. Yeah, thank you. So am I ready to present? Will you please, let me share my screen here. So I know that we have to present for 10 minutes. I'll try my best. Can everyone see the screen right now? Yes,
Yeah.
so my name is Prisca Tarimo. I'm a PhD candidate at the University of Massachusetts, Boston. Yeah, I had the privilege to conduct this intern with the commission, and I was supervised by my PhD advisor, Associate Professor Gillian McNaughton from UMass Boston, as well as the Boston Human Rights Commission supervisor, Professor Reyes Kotlecher from UMass Boston as well. So as an intern, I assisted the commission in conducting this research study that's focused on understanding the achievements of the most active US city-level human rights commissions. So because we are talking about human rights commissions, I'll give a brief definition. So human rights commissions are independent human rights bodies or institutions established with with constitutional and legal mandates to promote and protect human rights. And we have human rights at the international level, such as International Human Rights Commission, National Human Rights Commissions, and city level, going down to county levels and so forth. So this study specifically focused on identifying the most active US level human rights commissions and describe their most important recent concrete achievements, as well as challenges. And we looked at the concrete achievements in terms of, for example, if there is any passage of a concrete legislation, initiatives, or programs. And we focused on these 4 specific areas, which are police reform, immigrant rights, housing discrimination, and health inequity. So 2 methods were used for the study. The first one is website and document review. So I reviewed about 190 human rights commissions, and I was able to identify 20 commissions as most active, and those active commissions were the ones that I put my effort to review their annual human rights commissions reports, as well as specific project reports, and to identify the achievements of the recent implemented initiatives, specifically from 2015 to 2021. I also reviewed 4 Human Rights Commission's ordinances to understand the structure of the ordinances and the mandates they provide to the commissions, as well as limitations. Then I conducted interviews with 17 key informants from 15 active commissions, and the respondents included Human Rights Commission directors, executive directors, as well as chairs and commissioners. So our first area was police reform. So I just want to say that there are so many initiatives and strategies that have been used out there, but I included those in the report. But here we just presented the ones that we think the commission can prioritize, and they don't need a lot of resources to implement. So for policy reform, most commissions have allocated seats for human rights commissioners on the Civilian Review Board for the police. So the commissioner is within the Civilian Review Board just to ensure that the process of reviewing is like fairly conducted. Another strategy is requiring the Civilian Review Board for the police to refer complaints of discrimination filed against police officers to the Human Rights Commission for investigation. So this is done to ensure that our police officers are held accountable for discrimination. So if someone bring a complaint, it's just, especially in the area of discrimination, then that complaint will be directly sent to the commission for investigation. Other commissions, specifically the LA Human Rights Commissions, have helped the police department in strengthening their method of identifying, but also reporting hate-motivated crimes, specifically by adding a checkbox on the police incident report form to indicate whether each incident reported involved acts of a hate crime. For immigrant rights, some of the initiatives include creating immigrant advisory bodies to the Human Rights Commissions, and these act as mechanism for advising Human Rights Commissions, as well as other commissions in the city, as well as boards and agencies on issues facing immigrants, as well as their inclusion. Many commissions also provide awards to champions of human rights, including those of immigrant rights. For instance, the Bloomington Human Rights Commission in Minnesota provided human rights award to a law firm, which is providing pro bono work for immigrants. In terms of LGBTQ+ rights, a few commissions have issued legal enforcement guidance on inclusive gender identity. And for instance, the New York Human Rights Commission in 2015, they issued a guide to clarify that gender discrimination may also include the following: enforcing dress codes and grooming standards that may discriminate on the basis of gender or sex, intentionally failing to use individuals' preferred names, pronouns, or titles, and denying people to use bathrooms consistent with their gender identity. And this requires most cities to make sure that in the public there is at least one gender neutral bathroom. But also failing to provide gender affirming health benefits, for example, by employers, is also discrimination. Other commissions have also adopted or at least are supporting LGBTQ+ Pride Month proclamations. And this is done to recognize LGBTQ plus persons as well as their contributions. In terms of housing discrimination, several commissions have human rights commissioners as liaisons to housing policy boards as well as task forces, for example, Eugene. And this has been done to ensure that there is a representation of the perspectives of the community on affordable housing policy forums. Other commissions have proposed legislation and have issued guidance against housing discrimination due to COVID-19. As well, we all know, after the onset of COVID-19, there is an increase in hate-motivated crimes as well as vulnerabilities, especially to people of Asian background, and this includes even in housing. So several commissions such as the New York Commission, they issued saying that COVID-19 is a protected class under disability, and being infected is not related to someone's actual or perceived race, national origin, or disability. Health inequity is our last area that we looked at. So most commissions have worked with the city council and advised them to use a racial equity lens in addressing health inequities, including those related to COVID-19. As we know, COVID-19 disproportionately affects people of color, including infection as well as death. So some commissions have worked with the city council to also adopt resolutions to declare racism as a public health crisis. Other commissions support health screening initiatives for vulnerable groups. For example, one of it is Black Men's Health Screening and Education. The Evansville Vanderburgh County Human Commission in Indiana, in partnership with the Indiana Commission on the Social Status of Black Males, they host this, they call Black Barbershop Health Initiatives. Every year they visit barbershops and screen Black males' health, as well as providing education in terms of like diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and so forth. Some commissions, such as the San Francisco commissions, have also coordinated COVID-19 testing for LGBTQ plus persons by understanding their vulnerabilities to have other initiatives in terms of health and environmental justice. Several commissions, such as Bloomington, Minnesota, they work with the Sustainability Commission in the process of looking at how it's some of the research project to look at how environmental injustices leads to social, economic, as well as health inequities. So we also have challenges, but I just presented the few ones that I think they're major, as well as recommendation on how to address them. The first challenge is the shortage of funding and staff. Most commissions have a shortage of funding, but also some of them are operating with less than even half of the needed staff. To address this, the study recommends that we create, the Boston Commission creates committees and subcommittees on human rights issues of their interest. But on those committees, they can make sure that there is at least 1 or 2 commissioners and who are joined with experts from NGOs, community groups, as well as academia. Creating internship opportunity for students is also a good thing, like what we are doing. So like using PhD students in human rights fields to conduct research that are of interest to the commission, as well as law students to assess discrimination cases. The second challenge is most commissions have challenges raising profile, but also this is also due to lack of champions. So to promote champions, the study recommends that the Boston Commission provide annual awards to human rights champions, as well as creating subcommittee to assess nomination for those awards. The last challenge is limited mandates in ordinance. Most commissions are limited in terms of mandates, like in what they're supposed to implement. Most of them focus on non-discrimination only, but with exception, a few commissions such as the Eugene Commission. So in 2011, the Eugene City Council anonymously voted to revise its 20-year-old human rights ordinance, which primarily focused on non-discrimination only, to make it a duty of the commission to embrace the full range of human rights as enumerated in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So the Boston Commission can do the same, like engaging with the community, but also vote to revise the now ordinance to make sure that it's embraced the more human rights spectrum, especially as in the Universal Declaration on Human Rights. This is the end of my presentation. I'm sorry I went so fast because I was running with time. Any question?
I don't have a question. I just have a comment.
Yes.
This is amazing. I just want to thank you for your hard work. And I see you went pretty deep in terms of getting this information and giving us a tremendous amount of reference points to look at throughout the country. But I just want to say thank you.
Sure.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Margaret, you're muted.
I was just saying, this is just the tip of the information. There's a great deal more in the report, both in the report and in her notes on discussion. This is a great deal of information that's useful
That's right.
to us.
Yes, the report has a lot, like deeper information even about what I presented.
These are just highlights, so there's a great deal more information about other cities and other initiatives.
Thank you. It's a great report.
Thank you, Annie.
Any other questions? So, Priska, you've heard other commissioners say, but let me say that from all of us, we really appreciate all you've done. And this is going to serve us well as we go forward, thinking about what others have done, and we can learn from them. So we really appreciate all you've done, and what you've added to our knowledge will be extremely helpful. So thank you.
Thank you, Mother. So yeah, I could just close it if we are done. Anyone else? Or I'll just end the presentation. Can I close it if we are done? I don't know if someone can hear
Yes,
me.
you can stop sharing, Priska. Again, thank you for the amazing work on this space. I read the report, and this is amazing. Certainly some great ideas in terms of what's going on throughout the country. So thank you. But yeah, you can stop
Sure.
sharing.
Thank you.
There you go. I think the agenda for now, Madam Chair, you there? You're on mute.
Yes, I'm here. I don't know whether there's anything else people want to raise for the end of the year. I think that what I would say is, it's been a challenging year with COVID, and it's been a challenging year with such a small staff. And so I look forward to the next year where, we can have an outreach person and a research person and others. I think it will make it a much more robust work for our work. So I'm really looking forward to that. A very different year to build on what we've done, which I think is good considering all the challenges we've had. So
I would like to second that. Evandro and Susan has done a tremendous job in the year. Also, the state of our country, where human rights were basically pissed on all over the place, above and beyond COVID, and being able to still, with such a small staff, to be able to complete some of the tasks that we have been able to complete is damn near a miracle in the midst of mental illness, in the midst of, trying to overthrow the government, in the midst of George Floyd, in the midst of COVID-19, I must underscore the importance of all those different things happening in the midst of us trying just to be human. And around that piece, I just want to thank you both publicly for your commitment and dedication during this time, because it's been a rough time. It's been a real rough. People could have came at us and blamed us for everything that was going on in this country. You know how folks are. But I think, under the leadership of yourself, Alondra, and Susan, I think you guys did a tremendous job, and I'm looking forward to having a bigger team, being able to do some bigger things, and hopefully we won't have another overthrow of the government and pissing on everybody's human rights throughout the country. I just want to say thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, this is, you nailed it. It's been a difficult year, but the work really matters. The more we got into it, all of you have been involved in different portions of it. And it's been a long, but also, a challenging ride, but also very, very fulfilling for me this past year. So we're looking forward to continuing the good work. But thank you, all of you, for showing up again, but for your work and showing up every time, whether it's a text or call, or certainly on the public meetings like these, where you all continue to show up to. I really do appreciate you. But the work really speaks volumes. Because, particularly in this COVID-19 space, we needed it, right? We needed to sort of push these buttons that we started to push. And I certainly want to pass the buck to Susan. As you saw, even when I'm having technical difficulties here, trying to present something, she's been ready to help. Without her, we couldn't have done not even half. If it was just me, I'm just being honest. To figure these things out, the basics, it would not happen. So I really do appreciate Susan for all that she's done. And again, thank you to all of you. Chairwoman has been tremendous. Ray is pitching ton. Everyone has been amazing. And the issues that we focused on, they're diverse in their critical issues in their own rights, in their own spaces. And to be honest, if we didn't have this diverse group of folks pitching in different spaces, we wouldn't have focus on these critical issues that, again, I think we've done some basic stuff on them, but there's a lot of work to be done in all these spaces and more, right? So again, kudos, I push it back to all of you, and certainly want to close out by highlighting Susan one more time, because I really, you're talking about mental health, Leonard. I was going through it with 2 kids at home, lack of sleep, and Susan, thankfully, Susan, not that I should bash your parents, but Susan didn't have any children, so I was leaning on her heavily. So Ben, don't hate me, because I know you're going through the same thing. But Susan for president, there you go. Right?
I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. I'm one of those people that I give credit where it's due. And Susan, every time I ask her for something, she has done it. She's done it and continues to do it and excel. So she's grown a lot in a year or two. That she's been in this space. So I'm looking forward to continuing to work with her and all of you.
Remember, you hired her. So you
listen, I take the credit in that space. That's true. Let me take the credit.
Absolutely.
She's smart and works hard. So, but enough. But thank you.
Learned a lot in a year. We've learned a lot in a year.
Yes, we have.
We have come a long way. Anything else?
Yeah, perhaps we can go to public comments if no one else.
Yeah, so we can move to public comment. As members of the public will have an opportunity to ask questions, provide comments. You can use the raise your hand on the website or type a question in the chat. If you're on the telephone, you can press 9 or you can send an email to susan.hemley at boston.gov. So if anybody has a comment or a question, please do that. We'll wait for a minute or two to see if there are any. And I haven't seen any come in yet.
I see that the majority of the people in the public are UMass Boston folks, including Talia. and Professor Wicks and Professor McNaughton. And I'd like to thank them all for helping us when we really needed it.
Well, I don't know what we would have done without
Right.
you and without the faculty and without the students. You made an enormous difference. So we really appreciate all the help you gave us. And UMass. All right, so if there aren't any questions or comments from the public, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Take care.
Susan for president. Susan for president.
Thank you, everyone.